Now, 1 year ago, an inquiry found Greater Manchester Police had unlawfully arrested and strip-searched women and girls, including some who were victims of domestic abuse. Well, the inquiry was led by Dame Vera Baird, KC, and followed exclusive reports by Jason Farrell, Sky News' home editor. And I'm very pleased to say they're both here with us. And Dame Vera, I want to get your take on the response from the police to your investigation. But first, Jason, give us a little bit of context. Remind us of why Dame Vera was asked to start this inquiry in the first place.
Well, it was because we'd found several women complaining about the way they were treated in custody, being strip-searched unnecessarily, being arrested unnecessarily in many cases, and that led to Andy Burnham calling the inquiry. And a year on, we've looked at it, we've spoken to the police, and they say they have made significant improvements. It's not just them saying that. The inspectorate has also said that there have been improvements within police custody. And I think one of the key ones is that they've now banned welfare strip searches that the women we spoke to said were being used as a power trip by the police to exact control over them. But the police were saying they were being done to check the welfare of the people to make sure that they weren't going to self-harm. Those have been banned now within Greater Manchester Police. But many of the people we've spoken to say they have still got complaints outstanding. One example, if you saw the piece earlier in the programme, was Maria. She was arrested and strip-searched. She made a complaint in 2023. Since then, there's been Dame Vera's report. She's actually been convicted of the crime she was arrested for, even though Dame Vera said in her report it was an unlawfully unnecessary arrest. She's been convicted of that crime. So it's all gone through the courts, it's gone through a review, but it hasn't yet gone through the police complaints system. That's how slow it is. So those problems still exist.
So Dame Vera, what's your take on this? I mean, Greater Manchester Police say they've implemented all of your recommendations. What's your assessment?
Yep, so I think the complaint system is still really problematic, and that's not entirely their fault, though some of the people who are involved in this review have had very poor responses initially from Greater Manchester Police to the complaints that they made. I think two things are very important. One is this stopping what are called welfare strip searches, which was, as Jason said, it was when somebody, was suspected of being suicidal in sometimes, frankly, the most unlikely circumstances, and they would then be physically, forcefully strip searched if they didn't agree. That, of course, is an opportunity to do real harm to a person and to be on a power trip. The Chief Constable said that he would do his best to stop that straight away, and I believe that's been done. What's disappointing is that I hoped he would support me going to the National Police Chiefs Council to try and get other forces to stop it. If one force can manage without it, it's a huge intrusion on human rights, and other forces should not be doing it either. So I would call on him to do that. There is now, though, a very strong scrutiny panel set up by the Mayor and the Deputy, which is made up of, almost everyone you could wish for on such a scrutiny panel, and is looking at arrests. And it is coming to conclusions about arrests, because Manchester Police were frankly arresting people when it was unnecessary, and that means it's unlawful. It's obviously also hugely harmful for a person to be arrested. And quite often, a wrongful arrest still goes on to somebody's record and ends up on a DBS search at a high level, for instance, if someone wants to work with children. So those arrests really should only be done when they're necessary, and I fear that that isn't yet fully accomplished in Manchester Police.
Just wondered, Dame Vera, about the complaint system, because, for example, Mark Dove, who was one of the people who was part of the inquiry, he was wrongfully arrested twice, according to your report, and three times, actually. And strip-searched twice.
Yeah.
His complaint's been going through the system now for 3 years, and yet you were able to look into it in a relatively short time and work out what had gone wrong. So
we looked at 16 people in an inquiry that took about 6 months and came to, pretty strong and clear conclusions about it, with the police accepted. Why the complaint system is so cumbersome is really very hard to know, and it seems to have a tendency, it goes to the police, they say, no, 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 no. And sometimes, frankly, they are very dismissive indeed. I've seen one of the participants in this inquiry send, a complaint in that I would have sent myself if it had happened to me, and get back, the most extraordinary a response from an officer saying, well, I think I would have arrested you too. It was 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. When she was a victim of domestic violence, the police themselves recorded her adversary as a very high-risk person and her as very vulnerable. And yet this was the way, a complaint about the way the police having arrested her in response to a counter-allegation from him. This is the way that complaint was dealt with. It was very, very poor indeed. They've got better, I think, because there is a new head of complaints there now who I think has a more positive approach. But, you know, to add insult to injury, having arrested, having strip searched, having done all of this, and then when there's a complaint saying something as offhand as, well, actually, I think I'd have arrested you myself. Is there anything wrong with it?
Just briefly about accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, what about, no one seems to have been disciplined on since your review. I just wonder what you think about that.
Yes, I mean, the discipline system is a whole other book, which I haven't really opened, but some of the conduct in terms in particular of, well, all of the things that I set out in the report which were done wrongly needed training at the very least to make sure they didn't happen again, and they seem to be really quite widespread. When there is such a poor response to a complaint, which was actually withdrawn straight away and done by somebody else, then I think you need to look at the person who's responded in that really poor way.
OK, we must leave it there, I'm afraid. We're out of time. But Dame Vera Baird, we really appreciate you coming in this morning. Thanks so much. Jason, thank you. We'll see your full report in the next hour.